I'd like to dedicate this to Richard and Rita Okren, good friends, prominent members of the Chabad. I would like to wish you that 2016 should be a year of gesund, of health, and joy all around. There's a story that always fascinated me, left me a bit puzzled. They say the story of the famous Maggid Mezrich, that a young student once came to him and he tells the Maggid, I'm trying to learn the trick. How can I go through life and through the difficulties in life, the challenges in life, and still be positive, still be upbeat? After all, we know this is an important theme in Chassidut, in Jewish way of life. We try to retain a positive attitude. We try to be upbeat. And obviously, we deal with the challenges, but at the same time, we try to live life in a way that the challenges don't destroy us. But the young man tells the Maggid, I can't seem to figure it out. The small things seem to completely throw me off. You got to teach me. What's the trick? So the Maggid tells him, I'm going to send you to a student of mine who excels in this idea. And you go to him, he'll teach you. If I'm not mistaken, he sent him to the famous Reb Zusha of Anipoli, a man who had tremendous adversity in life, a man who was very poor, a lot of challenges. So this young man comes to Reb Zusha, spends some time with him, and after a while, Reb Zusha tells him, you didn't tell me why you came. Why are you here? What do you seek? What are you looking for? So he tells him, the Maggid sent me to you to learn how to deal with challenges. So Reb Zusha looks at him and he says, I think you got the wrong address. I would assume you're probably looking to go to someone who has difficulties in life. I have no difficulties. Life is good. You got to go somewhere else. I'm not the right man for this job. Which is obviously a fantastic story. The fact that Reb Zusha could be so positive, so much so that he felt like life was good. But the puzzling aspect is, how did he do this? I mean, certainly I would assume Reb Zusha wasn't negating the fact, or wasn't denying his challenges in life. He wasn't a man who was living in denial. How is it possible that Reb Zusha can look at a man in the eye and say honestly, the life is good, when people knew Reb Zusha was exceptional by the fact that he was happy despite his challenges? What was Reb Zusha's secret? And how can we live our lives? What's a perspective that can help us cope with the challenges, minor or great? And I believe that the story that we're reading in the Torah now, these few weeks, holds the key, the secret to our quest. The story we're discussing now is the story of Egypt. And the common theme that you find throughout the story is the idea of miracles. Over and over, God is performing miracles, not one, but many. When Moses is afraid the Jews will not believe him, that God sent him, God gives him 3 miracles. Transform a stick into a snake, etc. And later on, he got the 10 plagues, and you have the splitting of the sea. Miracle after miracle. What was the objective of the miracles? The objective of the miracles was God sought to impress upon the Egyptians and upon this nation that's going to be created. God is impressing upon these people the idea that everything is a miracle. Because what's a miracle? What really is a miracle? A miracle is when nature is broken. See, every day we have things that we're used to. We call it nature. The sun rises and the sun sets. A miracle is when something breaks that nature. When the sea splits, that's a miracle. When manna falls from heaven, or when water is transformed into blood, or a staff into a snake, that's a miracle. But there's a hidden message in a miracle. The hidden message in the miracle is, just like now, it's clear, it's clearly apparent that God did this, because otherwise the sea wouldn't split. So too, let our eyes not be fooled. Let us not be convinced that the sun rises in the morning on its own. Nature causes it to happen. No, just like now God is involved, so too the sun rises in the morning. That's a miracle as well. In fact, every aspect of life is a miracle. The only difference between the sun rising and the splitting of the sea is the sun rises every single day. We're fortunate to experience that miracle every single day. The sea, we only experienced it 2 times in our history. But the message that God was giving to the Jewish people at the time of leaving Egypt was the idea that life is miraculous. Not just the splitting of the sea or the giving of the Torah, but every moment of life, every experience, everything that we go through in our lives, every individual in our personal lives, it's miraculous. It's all guided. There's no mistake. And I believe that this has a tremendous message, and this was Reb Zusha's secret. And we're being challenged to try to emulate that to whatever way we can, to whatever extent we can. When does real depression set in? What is that really throws us off when we're faced with adversity? Obviously, we have the pain that we deal with, but what is it that just crushes us? Part of it is that notion that we feel like we're suffering pointlessly. I suffer. But why? The real painful aspect is that it's meaningless. I'm going through this, and there's no purpose, there's no meaning to the madness whatsoever. If there was some meaning, it would give tremendous comfort. It would be a perspective. Perhaps I can deal with it. You know, when a woman gives birth, it's a very painful experience. I never experienced it, but it is a painful experience. But the idea that it's a painful experience to accomplish this tremendous, miraculous thing, giving birth to a new human being, is tremendous. It gives a comfort. Could you imagine if you had that pain meaningless? There was no purpose whatsoever. How much more so, how much deeper, how much heavier that pain would be. So when we deal with a difficult moment, whether it's great or even small, we get into a fender bender, or we get a ticket, or we have issues at work or at home, we're dealing with challenges. Or a little bigger, we're looking for a job but having a hard time. Whatever we may be dealing with, we feel lonely. These are all challenges that are real, and we should all be blessed, and we shouldn't be faced with these challenges. And everyone, we should be successful. But what really throws us off is that feeling like, why is this happening? It's happening, and it's so meaningless. I'm literally wasting my time. It's that idea that I'm wasting. There's days, months of my life that's being wasted dealing with a challenge that has no purpose. The story of leaving Egypt, the miracles tell us, very powerful idea. What they teach us is that's not true. Just like the splitting of the sea is a miracle, every single day of our lives is a miracle. Every experience, every occurrence in our lives is miraculous. There's a reason for it. God is involved in our lives. There's a reason why this is happening to me. Obviously, we ask God, we shouldn't be faced with challenges. We should always see the good that is experienced in every moment. But at the same time, when we are faced with adversity, we recognize the fact that there's a purpose. We beg God that we should be blessed to see that purpose. But the recognition itself, the knowledge that there is meaning, brings tremendous comfort and allows us to be joyful, allows us to deal with those difficulties. And that's the challenge, because we know that nothing in Torah is just a story. Everything that's told in Torah is there to teach us something. And the message of the story of leaving Egypt in our lives is that the Torah is challenging us to recognize that this whole world is miraculous. That God is involved in every single moment of the day, as much as God was involved with the splitting of the sea. And what that will bring to our lives is it encourages us, it motivates us to live a life of fulfillment, of meaning. And it brings tremendous joy and comfort to our lives, recognizing there is nothing meaningless. Every moment of our lives is tremendously meaningful. Shabbat Shalom.